When I was 5, my mom sat me down and said, "Hey, do you want to learn to play piano?" As a 5-year-old, I said, "Yeah, why not?" And then came 13 years of piano lessons with a Russian teacher who would come twice a week. We would meet for 2 hours. She was very strict. And I became a concert pianist. And I would give concerts at local concert halls, and I would participate in competitions, and I would play for the family at Christmas and at special events. And then at 18, I left for college. I left my piano. I discovered other parts of myself. And to be honest, I didn't really play piano again till 4 or 5 years ago when I bought myself a piano as an adult. And I've been playing regularly, but more as a hobby than as the concert pianist I used to be. I sometimes wonder what happened to that part of me and to that part that expressed himself through classical music. How did that relationship to me and to the world change? How did that relationship to music change? Our guest today brings us a question exactly about that, about how to relate to her childhood musician. I'm really excited to speak to Sophie, meet her musician, and wonder what their relationship should be now. I'm Mauricio Bruce, and this is The Real Question. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Mauricio.
I've been looking through the files of our show, and I've seen you've been here before my time.
The before days.
Yeah, the before days. So it's exciting to have you here again. Thank you for having another question and coming back.
I have a lot of questions, and I'm happy to bring one of them to the show.
But if you've been listening to this season, you know that before we hear your question, I'm going to ask you if you could share anything about yourself today. What would you like to share?
I think something that I would want to share is that I love swimming, and I refer to it as a lot of my demons are water soluble. So when I swim, just through the power of osmosis or concentration gradients or however that science works, a lot of things just go away, which is great. So I love being in water and swimming, and yeah, that's an important part of my weekly behavior.
It's beautiful. Do you do pool swimming? Do you do ocean swimming? Do you do what kind of swimming?
I'm not near an ocean. I do swim in a lot of lakes.
Okay.
I love a river or a pond. Mostly I lane swim at a local rec center. But there's a few conservation areas nearby, and I have a pass, so I'll just go out and jump in the lake.
Amazing.
Not infrequently, yeah.
And hey, listen, the fact that you know that your demons are water soluble, we can make another episode so you can teach us how to find out. That's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It is wonderful.
So tell me, second time on the show, what's your question?
Yeah. My question, I think, is something in the vicinity of should I guess shift my relationship to my music, or shift my relationship to how I think of myself as a musician, a person who makes music. I started writing my own songs and recording my own songs when I was 12, and I'll be 31 in a week. And during that time, I had lots of different dreams and ideas, and that's shifted in a number of ways. And I think right now I don't really know how I relate to myself as a person who makes music. And it feels kind of muddied with dreams that haven't been realized, or ideas about what I was going to do when I was 15 that are in the past. So yeah, should I let go of some of those dreams, change my relationship to being a person who makes music?
It's a beautiful question and layered and complex. And I want to start, you said at the beginning, my question, I think, and I'm curious, where is your confusion about what your question is?
Mm.
Which part are you trying to discern or to think through?
I think there've been many times where I don't even feel comfortable calling myself a musician, and so it's like, well, should I call myself a musician? But like I've decided,
Yeah.
yes, I can call myself a
Well,
musician.
but you didn't during the opening. You kept referring to yourself as a person who makes music or my relationship to music. You didn't use the word musician there.
Yeah, it's pretty telling. I do think I can say I'm a musician, but I think that's partly bound up in this question of like what is my relationship to that, to making music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think there's an idea of like what a musician is, and that's a bit different than what I think I do.
I'm curious, what is the idea of a musician?
I think my idea of a musician is bound up in a more like conventional, this is your full-time career, and like you're like making money touring and selling your music and that kind of thing, which I think is like probably most musicians out there aren't touring and making any music. But that is part of it for me. I know other people who do have more of a like professional career as musicians, and that's not what I've pursued. And yet I'm still here like making music, writing songs, and recording stuff. So that's why I'm like, yes, I'm a musician, but I feel like I need to premise it a lot with like, I'm not that kind of a musician.
But you are making music and you are recording and you are putting music out?
Yeah. It's slowed down a lot. I have other things I've been prioritizing in recent years, and I live a bit further from the person and the studio where I usually will do production with. So like I made music almost every day when I was younger, and I was just like rapidly writing songs and recording songs and performing very small scale locally as like a 12 to 20-year-old. And then that's shifted a lot in the last decade. I've prioritized other things. I still write songs and I still record them, but it's a much slower pace. So it takes up different space in my day.
And so as you bring this question to us, as you're trying to redefine your relationship to music, walk me through that a little bit. What's changed? You're recording less music than you were when you were 15, but what's changed inside you?
Yeah. I think when I was like 12 and I started writing and recording songs, I was like super inspired, really gung ho, really eager, and just like shared my music with everyone. And as is often the case when you're passionate about anything at a young age, it's like you're so full of potential and this is so great. And like people are so into it. And I was into it. And then I think after high school, I started making music a bit less. I like moved across the country and was focusing on some other things. And then it became sort of like, yeah, I make music, but like a bit less, I guess, confident or like forthcoming about it. Having put out an album when I was like 16, there's this sense of like, oh yeah, I'm so proud of this thing I did, but also like how embarrassing, my 13-year-old self is like singing songs on the internet. And so I think this thing kind of shifted where it's like, oh, this thing I love about myself is also something that maybe I'm a little bit like at times expressing embarrassment about, or because I'm not doing it as much now, I like don't know how to talk about it or like express that part of myself to people. So I think it got really muddied or like overshadowed between being a teenager and now being further into adulthood. I think that's some of the ways that like it's shifted or that I've shifted. There's still this like discomfort or unclearness about how to do that.
So just to be clear, is this discomfort or the unclearness about your younger self?
I think it's just like how to fit it into like the story I'm telling now. Because I'm proud of like teenage me for doing all that stuff. I love all that stuff that I did.
Mm-hmm. There's
like a sadness wrapped up in it. I used to make music like every day and record songs like every week, and it was just like this huge part of everything. And it has not been that for quite some time. But it's still a little bit of a piece. And so it's just like, I don't know how you go from it being like this huge part to a smaller, but still like treasured, important part.
So Sophie, tell me about your relationship to music now. Like, we know that you created an album when you were 16, when you were young, and you said you're still making music. You're still in a relationship with it. It's just not like it was when you were 12 to 16.
Yeah, I do say that I'm working on my third album. And I'm like, well, it's not a lie. I'm working on it. But like, I've been working on it for years and like, it's really slowly happening. Like, what my relationship is like right now with music is still largely one of like joy. Like, I really enjoy making music. And I do really enjoy the production process. And so there's an aspect of like heartache or like missing what it was like when I was like 16 and did not have responsibilities in the same way that I do now. Of like, well, it's still really important to me and I still really love it, but I don't have the same like access to spending as much time doing it as much as I maybe otherwise would. And that is definitely just a result of my own choices. But still, that kind of heartache piece persists there a little bit.
So you talked about priorities, and I'm curious if we were to make a list. I know this is not so cut and dry, but if we were to make a list, where would you put music? Is it in the top 5? Is it below that? Like in the priorities of your life right now?
In terms of the priority list, it's like pretty low on the day-to-day. Like music is a part of my daily life, but I'm not necessarily writing or recording or even necessarily like playing instruments on a daily basis right now. So on a day-to-day basis, it's pretty low. When I think about my life or like my sense of who I am, it still feels pretty high.
So when you ask, should I shift my relationship to my music? I'm curious, where are you pondering shifting it to?
Yeah. I think part of what I want to shift away from is this hesitation I have and this habit that you probably heard in this conversation where I will like preface talking about music by explaining that like, oh, I used to do it more, or I made this when I was a child, or I still really like it, but it's different than it was, or like, yes, you can find my music online, but like I haven't put anything new out in a while. Like there's often this kind of like but or a feeling that I need to explain in relation to the kind of musician that I'm not. And I think I'm just like very tired of that. It feels like a barrier. It feels unnecessary. I don't think anyone cares as much as I do about any of that, really. But it's like it feels like it's in my way.
Let's explore that, because what I heard before was, if there's a part of me that's a musician and I produced music so incessantly when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, it was my way of engaging with the world and engaging with myself. How can I call myself a musician or somebody who makes music now if I'm not making it and I'm not putting music out and I'm not connecting to the world and to myself that way? And that idea that I can't call myself a musician, or I can't because I'm not doing it as much as I should, I'm not putting music out. When people say, oh, I love your album from when you were 16. Any new music coming out? What does that create for you?
Well, I don't have a demanding fan base. That's a nice idea. But when I think that I haven't put out music, I think there is, then it becomes back to the internal piece where like, I think there is this lingering thing from when I was younger, when it was like, oh, there's so much possibility and maybe you'll do more with the music, where it's like, well, I haven't done more with the music. I haven't tried to be a touring musician. I haven't tried to be signed by a label. I haven't pursued any of that, which felt like a possibility when I was younger. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do stuff like that. I don't know. And it's not. And so it's like, I think it comes back to that idea of like, what is a musician and like, what is conventional success in that way? Or like, is it embarrassing to call yourself a musician if you're not a professional one who's earning money?
That dream that you were just talking about when people were seeing you produce music at 16 and you thought, people thought, maybe she'll be famous and maybe she'll tour and maybe she'll produce albums and maybe she'll be on world stages. And right now you're not. And you seem to be comfortable with that. But when you were saying that, I wonder, is there a disappointment? Is there a sadness? Is there a little bit of shame?
Yeah, there is. I sometimes joke that I'm a person who kind of exists in like a constant state of debilitating yearning. Like I just want so many things all the time. And I have a really amazing life. I'm pretty happy with it. But every choice you make, there's choices you don't make. Some things are mutually exclusive and like you have one life. And sometimes I just find that so shitty. Because yeah, it's like, okay, well, in another version of what I maybe would have done, maybe I would have already tried to do more of like the formal success career part of music in some way. But like, I don't dwell on that much, but I think that is part of what's maybe under there, is that sense of like lost possibility that I can't go back and do that.
Do you need to go back? And what I mean by that is that a thing that's only in the past or could it be in the future?
Well, I can't go back and like do that at age 18. Like, no, I try not to fall into that too hard. Like, life is long. There's lots of possibilities. I love when people have like a second and third and fourth and fifth act. And I've already had 2 careers completely unrelated to music. Like, I love that stuff. And I try not to fall into the trap of thinking it's too late for stuff. But I also like don't actually think I want to do that. I don't actually think I want to be a touring musician who's signed with a label or whatever. Like, knowing what I know about myself, I don't actually think I would want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just talked about that possibility when you were 18, that other life that sort of has left. It still haunts you a little bit. It still sort of shows up sometimes. Could we let go of that? Could we let go of that destiny?
It'd probably be a good idea.
Where in your body do you feel that longing, that missed chance?
I usually describe it as a sort of heartache.
Somewhere on your chest, around your heart, somewhere there's an ache. If you said to that part of yourself, it's okay, I'm okay. I didn't miss anything. I didn't mess up. I didn't do anything wrong. I've chosen this life and I'm really happy with it. I'm okay here. And if I want to go that path in the future, I can make other choices. But I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't miss anything. I didn't mess up. If you said that to yourself, what would that feel like?
Yeah, I think it just brings me back to the confusion around like, yeah, like what do I want my relationship to the music to be? Sure.
But the thing is, what I'm trying to do is before we even create a new relationship to music is lay that old one to sleep, to bed. You're no longer going to be an 18-year-old touring musician signed on to a label. That we can let go of. That 16-year-old who used to play at cafes and who thought, what did she think?
I don't even think I thought anything specifically. I think it was just that sense of possibility and like momentum.
Yeah, and the word momentum is great. It's like there's all this energy and all this movement, and now it sort of is different. It's not the same energy and movement. Right? If it had like rocket fuel, now it has...
Now it's like a bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like with music, there was a big fan of possibilities back when you were 16. And that fan has slowly closed. And there's not as many possibilities or as big a possibility. Is that right?
Yeah, but I still want some possibility.
No, we're not closing the fan.
Hmm.
We can open it back up if
Yeah.
that's what you want to create. But the relationship, when you say, should I shift my relationship to my music, it has shifted throughout your life.
Yes.
And so when the fan was open, you live that. And now there's a sense as we speak that the fan is a little bit more closed,
Hmm.
but you're still sort of having a relationship with the open fan. You're
Yeah.
yearning for those big open possibilities that right
Yeah.
now don't exist and that
Hmm.
you're not living. They're not even a priority in your life.
Yeah. Well, you said earlier, it's like, oh, it's kind of like this thing haunts you. And like, I do often, when I talk about this, like, lifestyle of yearning I seem to have, I do often say, like, oh, it's like my unlived lives are just like haunting me sometimes around music and other stuff like that. That heartachy feeling is like, I'm being haunted by unlived lives.
Yeah. And it happens to all of us,
Hmm.
right? So many of us think, oh, but when I was in high school and that friend, like there's a
Hmm.
sense of yearning for the bits of our life that have gone their own way and that we're
Hmm.
not in anymore.
Yeah.
And part of our job is to just come be fully in this bit
Hmm.
so that then we can open up the possibilities for whatever comes next. But looking at the past bits keeps us from opening possibilities for us in the future because we can't work on those things that have already passed.
Yeah.
So, what I'm inviting you to do is all those ghosts, we need to lay them peacefully, thank them for what they showed us
Mm.
so that we can be right here in the present and with the relationship you have with music right now, so that then you can look forward and say, and in 2 years, this is what I would like to create. But if we're just sort of hanging out with the ghosts, then we can't be here to create whatever we want.
Yeah, I'm definitely not like at peace with where I am in relation to it right now. Yeah.
And so you ask, should I shift it as a hope that maybe that'll put me or that'll make me comfortable? But
Yeah.
really, what you're hoping is, can I open my possibilities? Can I come to a
Yeah.
relationship with music again that gives me possibilities rather than there's a sadness that I sense of like the things that have been closing.
Yeah.
So let me ask it to you this way. Are you hoping that in your future, your music possibilities open up more than they are right now?
Yeah.
Can we think of a future for Sophie where there is more production and more writing again, and that there is more music that is being put out?
Yeah. Interestingly, in the last couple of years, I've been like, okay, it's logistically really difficult for me to go and work on production and recording as much as I would want to. So, like, that project is really slow right now. And I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? How else can I have the connective joy piece of music where you're producing with someone else or you're sharing music with other people or you're playing for other people? And so I've had like some sing-along events where like people come over and they bring whatever instruments they may or may not know how to play and like we'll just play songs together. Or like I'm in school right now and we had a group of students who graduated and moved on to another phase, and so I like wrote a goodbye song and everyone sang this song for the people who were leaving. And like my neighborhood has a community event every fall where like people host garden tours and art studios and people play music, and I contacted them and I was like, oh, could I do like a short set? I'm part of the neighborhood. And so I feel like I have been trying to shift it in that way of like, okay, I can't do as much recording and production as I would want because of other priorities that I have and geography. And so like what are some other ways I could try to maybe open up and kind of push away that like shame embarrassment piece, like be seen, be visible as a person who enjoys music and doesn't take myself that seriously with it. So that's kind of a, when you think about like what's the next 2 years, what could be like the opening up of that, what used to feel like this huge fan of possibility that then felt really closed. I don't know about the piece around how much more I can actually do like production and recording right now. but I think I've found like a little bit of possibility in terms of sharing music with other people and like bringing that thing that I love so much into more like social spaces.
Yeah, and I wonder about priorities that we spoke about earlier, where you said in a day-to-day, music is not a priority. And is there any way to start making it more a priority in your day-to-day so that it becomes more of a priority in your life and it can gain momentum, which is the word you used earlier?
It's hard to know what that would look like. Like I want to invite the possibility, and then I'm also like, I want to be realistic about what I have resources to do.
So is the sadness there? I want to open these possibilities. I want to make this more a part of my life. And realistically, I can't.
I think it's realistically I can't do it exactly the way that I would ideally want to, which I think is where this kind of sense of like, okay, well I'm going to like write a song for my classmates. Okay, I'll try to play at this community event, and then maybe that feels like a challenge to me. That feels like a part of music that I have also missed that is more available. The sharing it with other people and like playing it piece. But there is a sense of like there just are some limitations. And I don't want to relate to those as like excuses. They are also explanations for like some of the reasons for why I'm not like recording every day right now.
So there is a loss that you're living through. Right now, I can't live that life that I wanted to, those possibilities that I wanted to. And even as much as I want to, I need to be practical and see the possibilities that are available for me right now. Even if I start to shift priorities, the possibilities right now are a community event.
Yeah, I think engaging more with what is possible in like the narrower section of the possibility fan is like a step in the direction I want to go in. Because like the fan only narrows more when I'm like embarrassed to play at a community event or write a song for my classmates, but then I decide not to share it because how silly and embarrassing, and what if they don't like it? Like those things would close the fan further, I think. And I don't want that. I'm like trying to inhabit the section of the fan that does exist. But yeah, there's still, as you said, like that loss, that mourning piece of like the broader possibilities that are not there for a number of reasons right now. Yeah.
But also sitting at peace with all the other priorities in your life and with the possibilities that are open for all of those.
Yeah.
One of my teachers said to me once, if I fight with reality, reality always wins. So part of being able to shift where I am and shift where I'm going requires that I be here.
Yeah.
And so people get scared because they think being here means accepting and letting go and settling. But you're not letting go of that part of you. But you just need to come sit here in order to look forward and say, okay, that's what I want to do with that part of me.
Yeah, I don't want to be relating to music in terms of like trying to get back to some
That's right.
prior thing.
That's right. That's right.
I am much more interested in desiring to keep trying to figure out what that section of possibility is right now. And like within that, yeah, to be realistic, but to keep engaging with it. It's more crushing, like not to enjoy music at all because I'm like sad or haunted or whatever. Like that feels so much worse than moments in which I am more present and aligned with reality as it is now, and like still engaging with the joy of music and the meaning it has for me. So like that all makes a lot of sense.
And I'm wondering, Sophie, as we land here, or as you hold this, how do you think you should shift your relationship to your music? Like, where does it want to be shifted to?
I think it does want to be shifted towards more of that piece around like connection with other people. It does connect me to myself and the world, like as a musician, when I do that, and I do see opportunities to keep doing that and to do more of that socially and with my work. And when it comes to like actually songwriting and producing and recording, I think I might need to think a bit more about what's realistic, so that I can maybe like actually understand and be excited for what opportunities there are, even if it is only like a couple times a year, which is kind of what it is right now. Instead of always kind of feeling like there should be more, or like I could be doing more with it somehow. I think maybe just mapping out what it is and trying to shift something in there is like where I want to go.
I think that last bit, there should be more, it should be different, is the key. If I'm constantly sitting here thinking it should be different, then I'm not here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the how of it all is like definitely more of the pickle. How to actually put some of the hauntings to rest, how to actually be more accepting of where I am, and how that relates to like the possibilities that I am going to pursue.
Yeah, I wonder if there is a song that you could write for that. A sort of exorcising song, or a kind of funeral song to lay some of those ghosts to rest.
Yeah, I can think about that. I have written songs about kind of grieving and transition and moving sort of through liminal spaces before. And I do like processing things through songwriting. So
thank you, Sophie. Thank you for taking us through this really vulnerable journey.
Thanks for talking with me about it.
I feel really lucky that I got to have this conversation with you. So thank you for being willing to have it here.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been The Real Question. Our show is funded through our Patreon at patreon.com/realquestionpod. Great perks, great people, great fun. Come down to Patreon land. Another way you can support this show is by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Reviews help the show get to other people, to new listeners, to new people who could ask fascinating questions. So please leave a review. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Real Question Pod. And we're always looking for more guests. So go to our website, realquestionpod.com, and submit your questions. We love to shout out our BFF tier patrons: Renee Underhill, Amanda Schramm, Christina Igu Brandon, and Jackson Paul Keeley. Thank you, guys. We are a Not Sorry production. Our executive producer is Vanessa Zoltan. We are edited and produced by Ariana Nettleman. Music is by Nick Bull, and we're distributed by Acast. Support for this show comes from the Fetzer Institute. Thank you, Sophie, for joining us today. Thank you for the music that you put out into the world, and thank you for having this really vulnerable conversation with me. I look forward to seeing what music comes out of this. And thanks as always to our wonderful team: Julia Argy, Nikki Zoltan, AJ Yaramas, Anissa Ahmed, Danny Langley, Courtney Brown, Casper Turkile, and Stephanie Paulsell. This has been another episode of The Real Question. See you next week.